There you go.
Hey traders, this is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com on March the 1st, 2015. Looking outside, it's snowing again. Pretty nasty out for the Northeast. In this video, we're going to cover the indices again at new highs. SPX, Dow Jones Industrials, and the Russell are at all-time highs, and the NASDAQ continues at 15-year highs. Tick cumulative is on its 8th bullish week, which is highly irregular. I would expect to see a turn shortly. We're already starting to see the slope changing. Tick cumulative on the NASDAQ is at highs and has been chopping around, looking very similar to the NYSE cumulative trend. We saw extremes last week, then we moved sideways, and the last week we've seen elevated trend readings. Trend was plus 1.5 for several days last week. We're watching for something similar this week. Breadth, we noted a divergence in the New York Stock Exchange Composite and the NIAD, the New York Stock Exchange Advanced Decline. Breadth indicator was moving lower while we were making higher highs. We'll watch the US dollar and bonds. You saw the charts that we posted last week with regard to bonds moving through the 9 EMA from below, and the SPX and previous occasions where that occurred and the SPX trailed off. The last time that occurred was the December top. Setups, we'll look at the 10E Stowe MACD setup and Bollinger Band TTM squeeze. Here is a chart of the S&P 500, and I have a indicator below the New York Stock Exchange Advanced Decline. Breadth indicator. Note with the NYSE composite, we are seeing lower highs on the number of stocks trading or advancing versus declining as prices continue to move higher. So we find that as a divergence, and we'll be watching that this week. Note Wednesday, Thursday, Friday we had selling volume taking control. Looking at the S&P 500 with TLT below, as well as the Barclays Aggregate Bond Fund, AGG. We mentioned that on Tuesday we passed through the 9 EMA on both TLT as well as AGG. If we look back here at the first part of December where we bounced, note where prices are relative to the 9 EMA on the S&P 500. And note Elder, for over 2 weeks we've been moving sideways. Blue sticks here. What typically follows obviously are red sticks or a resumption of trend, a green stick. With the advanced decline volume on the New York Stock Exchange Composite moving lower and that divergence, we are expecting that we will see a break of the 9 EMA or 10 EMA this week. Here is a chart of the NASDAQ composite. I've overlaid the Kopach curve. This is a function of average volume versus rate of change. And what this indicator typically will tell you is buy points and sell points. Most people use it for buy points only, but you can see that it's fairly effective with sell points as well. We're headed down towards the zero line. If we have a crossover this week, that would indicate that we could see confirmation on a move lower in the NASDAQ composite as well. Previous resistance turned support now. We should see prices come back to at least the 10 period EMA, I would think. Test that. If we hold the 10 period EMA, we'll reassess during the week. And here is a different version of the comp with volume by price bars. The 10 EMA here is shown in blue. What we see is Stowe on the 5-1 issuing a caution signal. This is the 5-1, that's 5 periods or 5 trading days. figured into the indicator. The 14-1 is starting to travel lower, so we'll watch that. MACD, the short-term buy signal duration, has moved below 0, and you can see histogram on the 12.26.9. MACD is moving towards 0. The longer duration sell signal MACD has a little bit further to go, so we'll keep an eye on all three of these as well as STO going into the week. Note this very large volume by price shelf at previous breakout levels down here at 4,800. I don't think that's going to happen this week. I think more likely we'll come down and test the 10 EMA. Small caps look similar. This is the Russell 2000. Note the 10 EMA is right here at 1228.58. We have previous breakout levels at 1221.44. So we have two levels for targets for a pullback, the 10 EMA and then a previous breakout level. Note slow STO is in the caution zone and turning lower. We could see a sell signal alert this week. MACD short duration's already turning, and the 1226 is headed towards 0. Watch the histogram. If we see this cross below 0, more than likely we'll see weakness in the Russell as well. Here is the New York Stock Exchange Composite. We like this index obviously because it's a broad measure. We had this quad top we've been watching for weeks now. We are reversing. We're back down below that level. Note the increased volume on the sell side, though it was fairly close on Friday, nearly 1-to-1. Slightly more selling than buying at the end of the day. So let's take a look at the sectors. Gold, we mentioned last week, was trying to get back above its 10 EMA, closed Thursday and Friday below, same. We see the 200 period up above as well as the 50, but MACD is turning and slow STO continues to move higher, as well as stochastic RSI. So we were watching gold this week for any indication that we might see a long trade there. IYR real estate shares, nice descending wedge printing here. We note volume by price congestion. Prices are below the 10 period EMA, so we're not looking for a long just yet. MACD continues to drift lower, and slow STO is in the oversold range, ready to move higher for real estate shares. We may look at a few of those during the week. IYT, note that we're back down below the 10 period EMA. The 20 period is just below at 161.40. We'll watch that. We have some volume by price shelves here. Support. MACD is rolling over, however, and slow STO continues to move south. The major theme here is that all the sectors are pretty much looking weak going into Monday, Tuesday trading. Note the volume on the semis. Prices moving sideways. We have the 10 period EMA as support as well as volume by price, but slow STO is moving lower and MACD is starting to turn. The regional bank shares, KRE index, price above the 10 period EMA. We have volume by price support here. Slow STO is moving lower and MACD is headed towards the 0 line, maybe across this week. Note Stoch RSI is down below 20%. XBI, the biotech index, has been looking the best. As you know, we've been trading that quite a bit. It's been in a 4 to 5 year uptrend, so we keep buying the weekly chart as it bounces off the 10 EMA and the 20 period moving average. Currently, we're moving sideways. We have the 10 period EMA down below price, volume by price levels here. Slow STO is turning back up. MACD is above its signal line. Home builders had a spinning top and a long-legged doji. with the long wick towards the bottom here at the 10-period EMA moving sideways. MACD crossed, moving down below its signal line, and slow still continues to head south. So we're not looking at home builders per se. I did note that a couple of home builders looked pretty good last week, but they are more than likely going to move lower this week as well. They're at highs if the indices move lower. The materials sector, XLB, a nice shooting star, closed right on the 10-period EMA. We'll keep an eye on that. Bollinger Bands are starting to tighten. We have volume by price support here and previous breakout levels down at 50.69. MACD is going to cross more than likely, and slow still continues to point south. XLE Energy had an interesting spike on the RRG charts. However, we're moving down below this volume by price bar. That's significant, and we're looking to see what happens if we extend this trend line. If we break below this level, the 50-period moving average just below, with MACD cross and slow still is pointing south. Financials look pretty good for a couple of weeks there, and the last week has been moving sideways along the 10-period EMA. We have volume by price support. We had this resistance level that we didn't surmount last week. Slow still is headed south, and MACD histogram is headed towards the zero line. We could see a cross this week on financials. XLI Industrials lost the 10-period EMA, closed below same. We have the volume by price support here. We're breaking down below this previous breakout level. Note the Bollinger Bands. We could head south with the 200 MA moving pretty much flat. We could test the upper and lower Bollinger Bands, at least get back inside of the 1 standard deviation Bollinger Bands. Looks like we have a MACD cross and slow still moving south. XLK, the technology sector, has been looking the best for the most part. We have the 10 EMA rising and below price. Moving sideways for 4 days, 5 days we really didn't go anywhere. MACD histogram is moving south as well as slow still. Consumer staples had a nice green candle on Thursday and Friday, moving above these levels. We're seeing the ratio between XLP, XLY starting to reverse course. We'll look at that in a minute. Slow still is in overbought range, and MACD is above its signal line. So this could embed, just something to watch this week. Utilities, we saw this bounce. We thought this was going to break higher, but it failed and moved lower. Prices below all of the moving averages except for the 200-period moving average here. We have this volume by price resistance support level. If we break down below this, we could get really ugly on utilities. Note MACD is really languishing down here below zero, and slow still is in the oversold territory. XLV Healthcare, one of the other sectors that looked fairly nice, moving sideways for the last week. 10 EMA just below price, as well as a volume by price support and previous breakout levels for targets. Note slow still is headed south, and MACD is starting to turn. XLY, the consumer discretionary, was looking really good. We have consumer discretionary numbers coming out on Monday. A lot of people are watching that. Spike after hours from what I hear, but prices are pretty much moving sideways inside of this large candle that we saw on Wednesday. MACD is moving sideways, still above its signal line, but slow still is in the caution zone and moving south. Now here is the XLP XLY consumer staples to consumer discretionary XLY. This ratio is very helpful in spotting changes of trend where defensive sectors outperform cyclicals, as you see here, which forecasted a turn lower in the S&P 500, the gray area. Respectively, when the ratio moves lower, that means cyclicals are outperforming the staple sector, and we have offensive sectors in play. Now we had a very quick turn on Thursday, Friday. We're looking to see if this breaks trend and starts to move higher, like we saw back here in the early fall of 2014. Here is a candle glance chart of the IBD 50 as of February 20th. What we want to see here is strength in these stocks, as these are the top 50 stocks that IBD lists, stocks that outperform fundamentally and technically. If we look through these charts, what we're looking for are the moving averages continuing to move higher, and we want to see bullish setups. Not exactly what we're seeing here on Alaska Airlines, but if you just focus on some of these charts, we start to see price action moving down below moving averages. Avago, gap up. Some of these semiconductor and IBD 50 stocks gapped up on earnings. We're looking to see what kind of price action we have this week. Had a little bit of a shooting star on Acorn last week. Note the shooting star on Amba. A red candle on Belden. This one's been doing quite well. We wouldn't be surprised to see prices come down and touch the 10 EMA, which isn't displayed here, but you can visualize where that would be. COM, looking pretty good. We want to see these stocks continue to look bullish to give us an idea of what we could expect in the markets as well. Note Jazz, two really big down days last week, Thursday, Friday. Manhattan Associates, these guys are in business services. Note that big candle on Friday came down to the 20. We'll see how that plays out. Monster Beverages, gap up on Friday. Worley Automotive, cyclical stock. Old Dominion Freight Lines, note we're rounding out here. We have a crossover coming. Ross Stores had a big day last week. Make a note of the symbols so you can track these IBD 50 stocks. Save, Spirit Airlines, down below its 20-period moving average. SolarWinds Software, moving sideways. Starbucks, red candle on Friday. Taiwan Semiconductor, a number of the semis are looking sort of weak. And rounding out the list. So you can take a look at these stocks and determine whether or not they look good with the 10 EMA Stowe MACD setup that we mentioned last week. So let's take a look at the 10E Stowe MACD setup. The scan, note that we have about 40 stocks in this group. We filtered these with Scooter in mind. Anything over 85 meeting the criteria 10E Stowe MACD. We want to take a look at those charts. However, if you look through these, there's only about 10 of these that actually closed positive on Friday. The rest of them moved lower. So let's take a look through the scan and see what we have. ACT has been on the IBD 50 stock list, one of the pharmaceutical healthcare names. Price above the 10-period EMA. Bollinger Bands are starting to compress. Slow Stowe is moving lower. We could see this turn shortly, and MACD is above its signal line. Akamai, aka M, Internet Technology, spinning top, sitting right on top of the 10-period EMA. Tested that area, and now we see the spinning top close a little bit higher. Slow Stowe is set up though, and MACD is still above its signal line. We note the volume here. Keep an eye on this stock. If we see buyers step in, perhaps this can be traded for a few points to the upside. Be a little bit skeptical, noting the Bollinger Bands are starting to squeeze. Barracuda Networks, this one's a fairly thin stock that we've traded in the past. Spinning top on Friday, a shooting star on Thursday, and a hanging man on Wednesday. Not the best price action, and we see this volume by price bar. Most of this is selling right in this area. We have a shelf level down here right around 38. Slow Stowe's headed south, and MACD is above its signal line. So we have two criteria of the three. I would wait for Stowe to turn, and hopefully the market's firm on this thinly traded stock. BJ's Restaurants, note the gap up and moved sideways for over a week. Slow Stow is now oversold, and MACD still above its signal line. The shorter duration has crossed though, so keep that in mind, as well as this red volume here. Cineplex, entertainment services sector, nice flag here, a nice push higher off of the 46 level, above its 10 period EMA. Bollinger Bands are starting to tighten, Slow Stow is turning, and MACD is above its signal line. Very thinly traded stock. Cytokinetics, this one was on the high tight flag scan recently when it moved from $3 up to $8, but the $3 to $5 range is what caught our attention several months back. It continues to hold the 50 period moving average, so the idea is as we move back to the 50 or the 10 period, we find buyers, prices move higher, Slow Stow gets set up, as well as MACD, which these two don't look that great. That's how we would trade a long setup. Look for possibly a move down to the 20 or a 50 period. Equifax, nice flag here moving sideways, price above the 10 period EMA. Note the volume by price bar. Nice volume. Traded 772,000 shares. Not the most volume, but it does look good. Slow Stow is turning, and MACD is above its signal line. If we see buyers and this pushes higher and the markets respond by pushing higher, perhaps the stock can move higher as well. EFX. GNC Holdings, Vitamin Shop, same sector. Note the gap up, moving sideways. The spinning top, long-legged doji on Friday, holding the 10 period EMA, line by price support. Bollinger Bands are starting to contract. Slow Stow is turning, having been oversold recently, and MACD is above its signal line. Car Auction Services, KAR, spinning top, closed above the 10 period EMA, got this volume by price support level, previous breakout level, aligning right around the 20 period moving average. 50 period moving average continues to move higher. Slow Stow is near oversold, could turn in the very near future, and MACD is above its signal line. So we have two criteria, near 3, depending on relative strength. We'll see how this trades. This is a thinly traded stock, only traded 856,000 shares last week. Lowe's, LOW, Home Improvement Services, in there with Home Depot, which gapped up last week. Note that we're holding the 10 period EMA. The volume is pretty substantial, and Slow Stow continues to move lower. If we lose the 10 period EMA, we could possibly see the 20 period very quickly, maybe a scalp short on Lowe's, LOWE, LOW. Martin Marietta Materials, MLM, defensive sector. Note the gap up, the nice pull, nice flag here, price above the 10 period EMA. We have a little bit of a shooting star there. Slow Stow is turning, and MACD is above its signal line. So we have all three criteria. It all depends on when we see volume pick up. It's kind of low here. If we saw this kind of volume, a pocket pivot on Monday, Tuesday, that would be a good indication that institutions are still favorable of this price action. We are pretty elevated. 20 period moving average is down here at 132.70. Another stock in the same group as Martin Marietta is Lockheed Martin. Obviously, it isn't on the scan. We just thought we'd pull this up just to see what the stock looks like. Closed below the 10 period EMA. Slow Stow continues to move lower, and we see all this volume, and MACD is headed lower. So keep an eye on these two. Perhaps we might find a trade there. And we'll take a quick look in the high tight flag scan candidates. FLWS, Flowers.com. We've traded this one before. Note that it's moved from 7 on its way to 14. If we get there, possibility of a flag, we could possibly trade this one higher. Note the volume. Slow Stow is overbought, however. MACD is above its signal line. So we have 2 of the 3 indicators. More than likely we'll flag out here shortly. Just keep that in mind. on this particular high tight flag candidate setting up. Kempra Inc. CEMP in the biotech sector. We saw this one a couple of weeks back. We saw the breakout. If you're still in this one, continue to move your stops higher under the previous trading day low. Your stop now would be right around $32 per share, having gained a nice $4 or $5 on this stock. Note slow stows turning back up with nice volume on Thursday, Friday, and MACD's above its signal line. CRMD CorMedix Pharmaceuticals, we noted this one a couple of weeks back when it built this flag. However, we're looking for this next flag to play out. The 10-period EMA is moving higher. Note the volume by price bar here. Nice volume. Slow stow starting to move lower, and MACD is pointing that it could move a little bit lower currently. So watch for a flag here down to the 10-period EMA. If buyers step in, that's a good sign. Possibly we could see a move higher. If you're a new trader and you're wondering why I'm saying we could move higher, it's simply because there's no overhead supply up here. There's no sellers to get in the way. It's only buyers. And there's a reason why there are buyers in this particular stock. You just have to do your homework and check out what their products or services are to warrant institutions falling all over themselves buying and accumulating shares. This is an interesting one. UAN CBR Partners LP in the specialty chemicals sector industry group. Note the volume by price gap here, or Kirby as we like to call it. Prices continue to move above the 10-period EMA, flagging out here. We're moving off levels down here at 847, so we need to see $16.50, $17 for this to be categorized as a high type flag. These show up earlier, gives us a chance to run these higher as the pole builds. Then we look for a flag at around 90 to 100%. MACD's above its signal line. Slow stow is turning, so we're going to watch this one over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully it sets up and gives us an opportunity to get in. Just do your homework, make sure you know what their products and services are that warrant the increase in volume with accumulation by institutions. EPRS Empirus Biopharmaceuticals. Note the flag here, note the pole here from this low at 472, running up over 100%. We need to see a flag here, possibly at one of these resistance levels. At 1050 looks good. Thinly traded stock, 257,000 shares on Friday. MACD is above its signal line. Slow stow is embedded. So we have 2 of 3 criteria. Just keep an eye on this one, jot it down, put it in your notebook, EPRS, and do your homework, find out when their earnings dates are and what they do. Halo, keep in mind that we are out of this stock. We have earnings Monday after the close. Checking earningswhispers.com. So just confirm that. If you're still in the stock, I would recommend getting out tomorrow. I wouldn't hold through earnings. It could be a catalyst for a move higher. Having built this nice pole and flag. PFNX, another high tight flag. Still building the pole. Already fulfilled this criteria in that it's appreciated more than 100%. Now we wait for a tight flag to set up. That could happen over the next couple of weeks. So just jot this down in your notebook and make a note of it. We need to see what they do, what their products and services are, and what warrants all this volume by institutions accumulating. Okay, so this is not a trade just yet. We need for a flag to set up. Now, if you're still skeptical of some of these high type flags, Xiopharm Oncology, obviously in the biotechnology and cancer industry group, we spotted this one back in early part of the fall. We look for a breakout above these levels here at the $4 or $5 range. It's a little bit of a sloppy high type flag, but what it did do is showed us an increase in less than 60 trading days, part of the criteria for a high type flag. It increased over 90 to 100% from $2.31 and $5. It moved higher, and it's since gone on to a double. So high type flags do work. You just need to fulfill the criteria. If you had done that, you could have netted over 100% on this stock. Okay, so this is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com. For you new traders, be sure to check out these top 5 or 6 videos, which will give you a better edge on understanding the markets, taking setups, and where to position yourself for the highest risk reward on your trade. In addition, if you don't subscribe to the blog, this is a spam-free site. Enter your email address in here and you can get these delivered to your email every day. You'll note my tweets are here, the watch list for the week or the day. You can just scroll down through these, keeping track of the trades that we're looking at, whether they're high tight flags or Bollinger Band setups. It's also a place for me to document the trades and thoughts going into the weeks. So I hope this helps. Take care. We'll talk to you on the stream on Monday.